The greater Indianapolis area is known for so much great racing. Dirt sprint cars, the Indianapolis 500 and IndyCar. NASCAR likes to make a few stops, but did you know that Lucas Oil Raceway Park is actually owned by the NHRA? A little bit of racing everywhere when you get to Indy, and oh yes, every now and again, this start-finish line is the very end of its own short drag strip, especially when you get some of those NASCAR trucks in town, just like they returned this year in real life. Now they return in the sim world. Welcome on in, everybody, to Podium Esports coverage of Round 2 of the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying Series, live from iRacing's virtual Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park from Brownsburg, Indiana. Filling in for Kenneth Bueno tonight, I am Devin Henry, alongside Rachel Whiteford. Our producer making all the magic happen behind the scenes is Ryan Bauer, using cameras created by the great Dougie Beard. There is nothing like this Road to Pro season. Not a single track is like the other. And as we all know, top 20 in points between two splits will make their way into the Contender Series. But this gauntlet is what separates the good from the chance to being the best. As we get ready to do Indianapolis Raceway Park, you look ahead at the rest of the schedule and you think, I don't know what to think. You look at the entire schedule, Rachel, and I feel like every driver is going to mark multiple tracks as a potential wild card because they're all just so unique and different.
Yeah, this second round has been strange. We've had the oval tracks, we've had the weird and wonderful, we've had the road courses, we've had Pocono. This one's been up in the air. And honestly, this has been probably the more exciting round because we've seen drivers who are both good at some of these tracks individually and just good in general, battling out to see who can really tick the points here. We've had a real shift compared to our more cookie cutter round one. So Indianapolis Raceway Park here in Brownsville, it's going to be real interesting. This place is small. It's a 1.5-mile track, and it's not a 1.5 miles. Gosh, no, it's a half-a-mile track, I should say. And it is confined, but it's also fairly forgiving compared to a lot of half-mile tracks. It feels bigger, I've got to say. You know, you take a look at your smaller tracks that feel much more compact. This really does feel super, super big. I'd almost say the places down in Florida that we go to quite a bit, they feel super, super confined compared to this sort of place. The likes of your Irwindales, obviously not Florida there, but you know, you think about Lania, you think about, you also think Myrtle Beach. They feel so small. And okay, some of those are might be slightly shorter, but not by much. New Smyrna as well. Like, these tracks are all in the same ballpark, but they feel small compared to this place. This feels decently sized, but once you get into a fight, it can get really, really confined really fast.
And this is a 5/8 mile track, but much like you mentioned Irwindale, the high line is the way to go. When we talk about a one-lane short track, typically we're talking the Martinsvilles, the Bristols, the New Smyrnas, where everyone wants to be on the inside line next to the apron. Not here. Everyone will be fighting for that high banked high line, and that what makes things very interesting, because when you want to pass someone, that means either got to put them in the wall, you got to slide job them, or because we have an open setup, you have to find a way to make offensive driving work, especially if you're somewhat further back. As we take a look at our grid here tonight, Joey Brown taking pole here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Anthony Burrows will be alongside him, a pair of drivers in the 21.6s. Anthony Navarro will start in P3. Brandon McKissick starts off in the 4th position. Christopher Hill rounds out the top 5. Angelo Phillip will start in the 6th position. Row number 4 made up by Daniel Nanning. Seth the Merchant will make up the 8th position. Rounding out the top 10, Rachel, Eddie Kerner, and Daniel Buttafuoco.
Yeah, certainly are in row number 6. We've got Ethan Lane on the inside there in the 30 with 12th place, Parker White in 95. Row number 7 is Kenny Brady in the 54 and Drew Farinaz in the 5. Row number 8, we have Christian Pedersen on his outside, Matt Cocker. With row number 9, 17th place, Wyatt Tinsley, and 18th place, Brendan Kohler. Row number 10 is going to be 19th, Ty Bass, with Jonathan Delaney in 20th on the outside.
Johnny Avila will start in 21st. Dalton Collins in the 22nd position. Row number 12 made up of Alex Bergeron, one of the guys who might succeed because it does have some dirt track, interesting tactics to it here at IRP. Connor Horn starts in P24. 25th position is Channing Ballou, and then Derek Lemke will start off in the 26th position. Max Brady in 27. Jackson Crowder, last week's odd split winner at Michigan, will start off on the outside of him. Daniel Eberhardt, P29. Santiago Tierrez, he will start in 30th position. Andrew Savaro, Justin Johnson, they will not qualify and start in the back of our 32-car field here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Pace car peels on off. Everybody starts to get the revs up. First lane selection of the night. That's what you got to do, is figure out what lane you want to try to succeed in. Some guys will take the access road, some guys will take the actual outside. And that is lane selection. Rachel, this is where things get interesting, because when you're on the outside and you're at a high side dominant track, you get to drive somewhat defensive because you just have to run the normal line, and it's going to force the guy on the inside to not be pinched. This is, I think, maybe the track for setup and car feel, and that blast off a corner exit will be more vital than anywhere else in this series.
They will be, but surviving this track is also going to be huge as well. And this is one of those tracks where you've got to worry about that even more than anywhere else. You've got to survive this track to have a chance to win it, and the line is important. If we get some good long green flag running, if we single out, that would be fantastic. But survive these first 10 laps, and you need a chance to do that.
Exactly, because so much can happen here. We saw it in real life when the Truck Series returned for the first time in over a decade. There was a lot of carnage, but there was also some spectacular racing for every position on the track. 3 races down in Road to Pro Round 2. There will be 3 to go after tonight, and no, it does not get easier. A chance to get a win, some major points. Who will make it to the Contender Series? We are underway in Road to Pro at IRP.
Big run into 1 and 2 here, getting those lines right. Trying to find your positioning here as out front. Brown has got a really, really good head on him here. He's gotten clear, which is important. Everyone else is trying to single file out here whilst trying to keep their ground, not lose anything too much. And these guys are bumping and banging already. This truck's rubbing already on lap number 2.
Oh, they will rub all right, and they do not have to be all stacked up in order to be rubbing. You see Hill in that white and blue number 99 car battling around that 4th position. He's stuck on the inside lane. There's McKissick, tries to hold him back. He'll slide back to 5th. Everyone trying to find their way back to that outside lane. Hill, for now, doing a good job fighting back on the inside, but that's not going to last you a whole race. You either have to find a way to pass on the inside or try to retreat back to that high side ASAP every single time you battle someone.
Caution is out. After ready.
Yeah, Derek Lemke is already having issues. He started more towards the front of this field, and so the first caution of the day in the odd split comes on lap number 2, back to the start-finish line, Rachel.
Yeah, unfortunate for these guys. It's already happened. This is what we'll see during this kind of racing, though. These guys, be careful. And it's just running out of room that will cause it. Yeah, squeezed out the corner. Going to be one of those things that will unfortunately hit you.
And this is also something where you carry so much speed through this somewhat high bank track. I'm not going to say that it's some sort of monstrosity like Bristol, but when you have the high speeds that you are able to carry, everyone having their own unique setup is going to mix up what everybody does. I think what you saw right there was in part of having that high speed and maybe something to do with that setup. When he gets on the gas a little bit too soon there, whips that rear end around. So you're not going to have a lot of room when you're in the corners, Rachel. And so real estate, I mean, it's quite frankly more valuable than I think anywhere else in Brownsburg, actually. So when you're here and you're trying to make those moves, it's not just about the pass. It's also about where you start that pass. And it might be 2 laps before you actually make that move to the inside to set it up with the proper momentum so that you don't get stuck in no man's land on the bottom.
And yeah, that's absolutely right. You will get stuck down there, and you'll go backwards if you do. So you've really got to push the issue in these early laps. Try and make those spaces. That's what happened there. It was just out of room, out of time.
Last thing that you want to do also is take literally any tire sets this early in any event in Road to Pro. These are quite frankly borderline sprints, if you will. Only 140 laps tonight, so they will tick off at an insurmountable rate when you come here to IRP. These laps, like you said, it all goes by so fast, right? So if we do get on a long green flag run, you have to be concerned about what you're going to do to work your way through the field.
Yeah, most certainly. And the green flag runs where it's going to matter because you're going to have to contend with traffic pretty heavily. There'll be lap traffic really fast, and it will become one of those factors. And you're also going to consider where you are if you become the lucky dog position. Because recovering laps here will be important. There are going to be cautions, and you're going to have to worry about that. And you'll have to play to that strategy.
And we saw in the real life Truck Series race in their return here, there's a chance that you get those long green flag runs, but of course, like anything, both in real life and in the sim world, you can't be surprised when you do get that big scatter of cautions. And that's what really mixed up the real life Truck Series race and allowed Grant Enfinger to make his move up to the front and win that event here at IRP. In the real world was all that shifting and shaking on late race restarts. Now, it doesn't always happen at a short track, although with so much on the line, it can happen from time to time in sim, as we all know. But even like right now, you had that initial start. How did you set yourself up for success moving forward? So if you do get a spur of caution to open up this race, let's say that you qualified poorly, but you found a way to get yourself moving forward as we get ready for what I think eventually we're going to have a somewhat sizable green flag run.
Like I said, it's about survival in those early laps. I want to hold, if I'm in this race, I want to hold my position where I am. I want to focus on doing just that. Now's not the time to advance. I'm going to do that on good tyres later in the race with a good setup. I focus on surviving and holding what I've got. You're going to have eyes in the back of your head. You're going to be all around your car, your truck right now, focusing on what's important. And here we go for the green.
Joey Brown, Anthony Burrows lead us back to the green flag. Andrew Navarro, Brandon McKissick behind them. Christopher Hill, Agnell Phillip, top six. Only got a couple laps in while we were under green. Back underway once more. Joey Brown makes the quick move to the high side, and everybody back double file into turn number one.
Yeah, they are indeed trying to push this thing here and just running that defensive race, trying to just manage and maintain. You want to get up to that line and get yourself in a position to just run this thing long. The top four already done it. This is how quickly they want to be there. They don't want to be involved in this. It's just too early to be getting into a mess like that. Just focus on getting out ahead. And every single caution we get from here on, by the way, it's going to get more important. You don't want to get stuck around a bunch of people with old tires.
Well, not to mention, you just saw how long those yellow laps were. I mean, we sat there for a while. We only had 3 laps down and then took about 5 laps under caution to get the race restarted. So if you do get into a position where you are not passing cars, you are going to be in trouble once we start moving forward. And, oh, there's just a slew of cautions, and it takes up a lot of this race.
Yeah, you can eat a ton of this race under caution, and that is something to really worry about. But it means people don't get into that rhythm quick enough. And short track race is all about rhythm. You got to get that rhythm down, or it's just going to bite you.
Joey Brown continues to hold up front. But a Fuco in front of Parker White, and also this number 30 car here is White looking to the inside. Nanny trying to hold him off. And you see this outside line here. When we say outside line,
some slight Mr. Roboto going on there for my colleague. I do apologize. We're getting some big issues on the back straight there. I believe that's a 22 truck. Daniel Nanny there, getting all shapes of sideways coming down the back straight, but he collects it together. We are now 3 wide. They'll sort themselves out here, get themselves dropped down and managing this thing. Yeah, that's exactly where it's going to get kind of crazy. And you got to just be sure you're giving people enough room, because it always pays to be more cautious than optimistic in those cases.
Yeah, you do whatever you can to try to keep yourself. Oh, someone was stuck in the wall.
Yeah, that was just ahead of those guys. That was that around Parker White? Yeah, it was the 16. The 16 did it. It was trying to find where he is right now, but he's going down the order. Agnell Phillips. He came down the track, got clipped by the front bumper of the 7 truck. Daniel Botafogo. He came down on top of him though, and that put him up the wall into the railing, and then he got clipped, and then he got smacked by the 9, and field goal.
Parker White, just an innocent bystander. Also, the 3 car there gets a piece of that as well. Last thing that you ever want in any of these cars is any sort of front bumper damage, and it's just this simple Two guys fighting for the exact same spot on the racetrack, and one gets punted, and really unfortunate he got stuck in the wall there. I think less trucks would have got beat up if that car would have been able to keep on sliding forward, but that punt off the wall looked like that car was ready to go to the NFL.
Yeah, someone signed him for the Browns. I think his race suit was brown after that.
I wouldn't doubt it whatsoever, and that brings us to our second caution of the race within 15 laps, and once again, we have ourselves in this long caution spree. And now I'm starting to wonder if this is going to become, because the start of the race is always so vital to how the rhythm, like you were talking about, Rachel, is going to run throughout the race. It makes me curious if these drivers are already starting to begin to think, how do I manage my tire sets if this is how the end of the race is going to be as well?
Yeah, I think that's real important to factor in here because as everyone's coming down, well, no, only a couple of trucks coming down to get service, everyone else is staying out here. These restarts are going to get worse and worse. As people get worse tires and the tires wear down, these restarts are going to hurt them because it's going to get slippy. People are going to start wiggling, and there'll be tire spin, and that's where we start to get big problems on restarts. That's why you have to be super careful in the opening laps. But it means that these guys aren't getting their head in a rhythm. They're not getting their head on the goal, and they're not focused. These are some of the best we have, of course, but even then, the more time you spend on a caution, the more time you're taking a drink, you're relaxing, you're talking to someone on the radio. You know, you're not fully focused, and if you can't get yourself in that zone.
In the real world, this would be just about 7 miles northwest of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and in all actuality, it's actually a quite pleasant drive to make your way on over to IRP. And if it wasn't for the giant sign that's right next to the entry of the racetrack, you probably wouldn't actually realize that there was a racetrack and a drag strip right off the road. It's right next to residential buildings here in Brownsburg, Indiana. So it makes for a really nice drive. You're able to have a lot of trees in the area. You got that mill directly behind it where sometimes during a race you have guys going back there and they're working back there in what in the real world is a little bit rustier tanks on the back straightaway. But on the left side over in 3 and 4, you have a grassy parking lot, which is absolutely full for the NASCAR event. And then on the right, you have some asphalt parking. And you see that strip of pavement on the bottom of your screen. That there is the IRP drag strip used by the NHRA when they make their way to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So much racing when you come to Indianapolis, no matter what your favorite kind of genre is of racing. And it was great to see this track added back to the NASCAR schedule, and always a pleasure to have it here on the iRacing service. Part of Road to Pro round number 2. Back underway as we look to find ourselves some green flag laps, and that's not going to happen as the 53 car goes around. He'll collect the 13 as well. Everybody feathers out trying to avoid that one, and Brandon McKissick, he is going to be one of the couple of cars out of the very front, going to have a casualty after running well to open up this race.
Well, it was the 15 that came down and the 14 there. Out of the start, they hadn't even crossed the line yet, and they're already bouncing. And, yeah, when you're sideways on a restart off turn 3, everyone's getting up to momentum, no one's got anywhere to go. The fact it included so few trucks is exactly what I mean. It's that bad tires and bad rhythm.
Yeah, and I'd say that for the beginning of this race, every race has its way of beginning and saying a tempo. This is not the tempo that you're looking for. On board with Parker White. 4th row outside. You see just that little tap is all it takes for some carnage out front. Set the merchant. I don't know how he kept that car straight. That thing was doing the Macarena as it went down the front straightaway, and he's able to retain that starting position for the upcoming restart. One more look at it. Listen to the tires, I think, with the merchant.
Oh yeah, he was trying to get that thing out of the way. Oh my god. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Oh man. He was on a whole different music genre there. They were doing the Macarena and he was chilling to some R&B.
It was fun to watch. I don't think anyone in the entire field had any fun watching that, though, as we pick up our 3rd caution of the race within 20 laps. And here in the odd split, it's all about points, Rachel. We all know that. The top 20 out of what is a great slew of cars, 2 full splits. You only take 20, so you don't even take one of the full splits. And that is what you take into the eNASCAR Contender Series. So while these guys are so close, I want to say, because of how many people get eliminated just from round 1 of Road to Pro, you're so close to reaching the pinnacle of eNASCAR and the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. But it's races like these, the ones of attrition like we talked about earlier that might decide if you even make it to what is the third elimination round before you're even able to try to attempt come one road. So this is one of those races where you just sit back and you hope for the best, because it's a race like this that can knock you out and potentially run into contender series. We've seen every year, in almost every series, just how close they are.
Yeah, we absolutely have, and my colleague R2D2 will be back with us in a moment. I think he has to go fix himself. But things that will occur sometimes as we get ourselves ready to rock and roll here, back again at IRP, and honestly, we're seeing exactly what we expect to see with a track like this. It's a lot of guys who are used to being on a much faster track, much bigger tracks. Perhaps in some cases, this is their first time back on tracks this size, really, outside of your Bristols, your Martinsvilles. And even then, Martinsville can be very similar, but I would argue that this widening out a bit more, it gives it a little more scope to be much more of a risky track. And the width of that track really allows this kind of race to happen. At Martinsville, you're going to see 2 wide, 3 is really pushing it, but you're going to get this kind of bravery and movement at a track like IRP. And this place actually does have a road course, by the way. It has a 4-mile road course, mostly disused now, and derelict, in fact barely raceable, if raceable at all. But no, they actually have a road course here, other than the drag strip, of course. In fact, I believe it's no, it's a 2.5 mile, 4 kilometer road course. It's in complete disrepair, so no longer used. Of course, that drag strip here is used by the NHRA. Unlike its big brother, Brickyard, sorry. We'll go back to green, actually, sorry. Got our timing a little bit wrong there, going into 1 and 2 here.
Brown back out front again. He's had himself quite a few good restarts, although he's had quite a bit of practice as now everybody tries to make their way back up to that high side. One car, a little shaky. Looks like going to take a trip down onto pit road.
Yeah, perhaps a good, had to go down for a restart. Maybe he had a black flag. He can't serve that under caution, of course, depending on the context of it, so he has to wait for the opportunity to do that.
So Kerner will add to some of the wreckage, although luckily his isn't as wrecked as the other ones. Back down on pit road. Meanwhile, Navarro trying to put some pressure on Brown. Has a little bit higher line here. We'll try to reel him in down the front straightaway, but this sometimes is a long pass to make, especially for someone like Brown who's been able to take off really smooth.
Yeah, Brown's been really having it good so far, and it's been going exactly his way. That truck is in a good spot here. He's controlling the speed of this race, which is super important.
Able to control the tempo here, on board with Connor Horn. It's just outside the top 10, and everyone still could try to figure everything out to get themselves back to single file racing. As you mentioned earlier, Rachel, finding a rhythm is important, and so far, almost 30 laps in, I don't think anyone has, except for maybe your leader. But besides that, everyone else is still trying to figure out what their car is going to do on these green flag runs.
Yeah, they are, and that's going to be the part they have to try and figure out, because we need to have a decently long green flag run at some point. We're 30 laps of 140 right now, and we maybe run 3 or 4 in a row. That's about it. So it's been busy so far. We're on, what, caution number 3 right now?
Yes, so let's not jinx it. We're averaging like a caution every 10 laps, but those caution laps are what's making it so dang long. Trying to work on the outside. Fahrenheit's right now trying to hold back. Trying to use that outside lane to make some sort of move, but here's a little bit of a pass on the inside. Kosher's able to keep the 5 car at bay for now. This is the battle for 9th.
Yeah, it's definitely doing that, and I think this does lie on the borderline of where it's important to have a hood on your car, or your truck in this case, or even just bodywork damage in general. You can tolerate quite a bit at a track this size, but it's where it starts to actually become a major factor is at a track of 0.6 of a mile. It's going to really kick in here, but we're definitely going to see some damage, I think, around this place, as a lot of these guys are going to start picking up wall wounds. But right now, like Brown, Navarro, Burrows, Hill, Lane, they're in a really clean spot here. That last caution, though, it came out right towards the front, so anything can happen.
Lane was trying to get that nose inside of Hill for the 4th position. Unable to make any sort of move as Brown has continued to increase his gap over Navarro for that 1st position. and now everyone finally begins to stretch out. This is where you finally get to see, with an open setup, the one that you made specifically, how is it working around other cars and what is it going to do on a green run? Most importantly though, Rachel, what do I need to do to make a clean pass here and find your way up front?
Hope and use your bumper. Well,
Well,
not entirely.
sometimes
It's going to
not.
happen. It's going to happen at some point. I can tell you that now, especially towards the last laps. But momentum. You got to find that momentum. You got to find that rhythm. You've got to get your truck in a position where you are faster, and you got to set it up. It's going to take more than just a lap. It's not a case of just dive your nose in and make it stick. But it'll take you a minute to get set up, and you may have to really time this for a good opportunity. But you're going to want to basically force your truck, I think, into the right spot here, and it will take some planning. That's definitely for sure.
Botafuco already back up to 19th. He was a part of caution number 2. He's trying to work on Kenny Brady, and you see this little trunk of cars back here flying outside the top 10. This is where everyone just starts to dig in. There's no better way to pass cars at this track than one by one, as we see a little bit of rear end swapping out there as the 26 car makes the move. He's going to be able to pick himself up a spot into 4th. And now you see Parker White trying to work that bottom lane on Hill. We'll see if he's able to do anything and find himself inside the top 5.
Yeah, we certainly will, and I think he will with time, but it's going to be a longer run here. We've still got some of these guys pushing for this thing. 14 of Hill, the 1 of White battling hard there, the 2 right behind them as well. We've got Tinsley, Cocker as well. These trucks, really, this is the big battle back here towards the rear of our top 10. Out front, Joey Brown is living the good life. He's checked out. He has got Navarro to keep him somewhat honest, but at the same time, Navarro's not gaining at all. So that 0.3 of a second might as well be 10 seconds.
We might have saw an accidental Dale Jr. appearance there momentarily as the cars were going by the front straightaway. Andrew Navarro trying to work that outside lane. You see where Brown is running though. Joey Brown is running a little bit lower than I think really the rest of the cars inside of the top 10. Kind of diamonding entry there. Everyone is going to have a specifically different line. And he's almost 3/4 of a car width lower than everyone else. And you also have to wonder what that's going to do on tires. Tire wear also becomes a major factor in who begins to work their way up the field. And if your tire wear is better than everybody else's, that is where you're going to really want those long green flag runs. Cooker here on the outside lane, trying to make work whatever he can to keep that car in front of everyone trying to pass him on the inside lane. Bernard still stuck in 10th, and now he has to play a little bit of defense too.
Yeah, he does, and that's going to be a really tricky one for them, because defending here can also just kill your tires and speed so much. You've got to focus on going forwards. The defensive race can come later. If you're going to lose a spot now, you might as well. It's a 42 of 140. This is not the time to stick it all on the line.
Here you see Max Brady unable to hold back the 13 car. Actually, Brady a lap down, excuse me. He's currently sitting in the 26th position. But Botafuco kind of chopping the nose a little bit there, but he's got a lot of room to make up, trying to catch up to Tires now. Like we said earlier, he was caught up in that second caution after running inside of the top 10, almost inside the top 5, and now having to make his way back up towards the front.
Yeah, very much so, and it's going to be a long slog to do that, because we're starting to see this thing separate out, which means we could see some good green flag running here as long as things comply. But what's to be factored in there is the more it spreads out and goes green, the more this is down to how your setup runs here and how you're going to be able to take this over a green flag session and keep this thing running. They of course are going to need fuel. That is important, and that could be a problem with pitting in and out here. This is not exactly a lot of room.
Brown and Navarro, they're starting to move away from the entire field. You see everyone beginning to separate out. We'll see how tire wear fares. Navarro has not changed up his line though. Still trying to track down Joey Brown for the lead. Here in odd split, every point is oh so important. Well, I should say for odd and even split. I needed a comment in there somewhere. Of course, the even split over on FTF, and we combine points for both series. But the way that you get split up is purely based on iRating. So the top 32 and iRating for this series, all the drivers who are eligible for this series, they can put into this split, everyone else into the even split. And so that allows you to have a little bit of a diversity of racers, because every now and again, depending on what that official iRate is, it's going to move people around just a little bit. Then you get to see a couple new faces, maybe here, maybe there. Parker White, he continues to try to make work inside the top 5.
Yeah, very much so. We're seeing a little bit of racing further up the track here. Around Hill, Cocker, the Merchant as well. These guys are pushing on, but it's staying honest at the very front. Navarro Brown, still 0.3. Burrows is about 1.3 seconds back with Lane. Those two running together. Then we have a gap to White, gap to the Merchant, and then the Merchant has a gap to Hill, Cocker, and Tinsley, who are running together. And those three are kind of getting a little bit odd. There's definitely some battle wounds on these trucks already, and this really feels like I'm really hungry for that spot on Hill.
My apologies for earlier. One Brady lap down, one Brady on the lead lap. Got them mixed up. Caution back out on the track. Now another incident here on the front straightaway. Daniel Eberhardt getting a bit of damage as he flew down the front straightaway to the bottom wall.
Yeah, we're going to replay what happened there, but this is another of the same incident here where I'm trying to work out exactly what happened between it. It was a 27 and a 31 out of 3 and 4 again. And looking at this, I think the 27 came up. So that's Ty Bass. He comes up, he gets 31 sideways, which unfortunately collects the 8 with nowhere to go. The 8 gets touched into him by the 7, and then it's just a conga of compression as everyone gets turned around. 3 and 4 seems to be a real danger zone.
And that decided everybody coming on the road, all around.
Well, guys coming down pit road for some repairs in some cases here. Those that need to, of course, but everyone's come down actually, I believe, for fuel here. Possibly tyres, not sure, but I'm sure what the call would actually be in this particular context. But we've definitely picked up fuel at this point. We're a third of the way into this race, of course, 50 laps in the book. And now we get stacked up for another 2 wide again.
Parker White, who was the first one off the pit road by a pretty incredible amount, it looked like.
Yeah, still certainly is. We're getting them drop down here. Behind that pace car, we're getting things turned around and get these guys up and going as we get ready to rack and stack and restart in a lap or two's time. But at the moment, this is what we're going to have to deal with for these guys. It's going to be about this race and what we could see in a long run. That was our longest run we've had so far, and things were already pretty tricky with it, so it's going to be tough to see just how long this can last.
It's going to be under 90 laps to go here at Lucas Oil Raceway, Indianapolis Raceway Park. Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure most of you just call it IRP, though, as we get ready for what is going to be the final 3 races of Road to Pro round number 2 coming up after this. So officially, since we're almost halfway in this race, we're almost halfway through Road to Pro round number 2, and as everybody starts to get closer and closer to that final race, we're going to get oh so close to the final chance to make your push for that top 20 in points. We got a question about who made up some spots on pit road. I'm going to have to say Parker White is someone who really made up spots on pit road. His stop was only 8.7 seconds. I'm not sure if that's 4 tires or if maybe he has a special pit crew down there or something, because, man, that was a blazing fast stop. But you got to wonder what service was actually done at 95 now that he's up front.
Yeah, we'll have to find out who took what here, because a restart with full fuel and bad tires for some of these trucks is going to be wild.
We continue to pace around, almost ready to take the green flag once more. Parker White leads the way. Andrew Navarro will line up on the outside of him. He was in first. He'll have to restart from third now, though. Joey Brown will restart inside of row number 2. We'll find out just how much speed that number 14 actually has if he can make some moves and get himself back out front. Going to be under 90 laps to go here at IRP. Parker White going to cut the apron, gets himself a big lead coming back to the green flag, and 3 wide behind him.
Yeah, that's bold at this stage of the race, I think. A little bit optimistic by some of these trucks. A little bit of contact behind him. The 14 once again involved in a little bit of rubbing. Everyone keeping it clean right behind him. Now here you go, treacherous 3 and 4. Seems to have been our danger zone most of this race. Are they going to make it through clean? They are. No huge problems just yet, but a bit of slapping on the front straight there. These guys are not shy tonight.
No, I don't think they're shy just about any night. Rachel, you've been seeing a lot of outstandingness from a lot of these drivers so far this season. Seth the Merchant now making the move. He'll slide himself into the 6th position.
And they're going for this thing still and trying to keep themselves in one piece as we've got a lot of bumping out of 3 and 4. We're seeing a huge amount of it. And the biggest moves seem to be people diving down into 1 and 2 and then coming out and trying to get ahead. The slide job in full effect tonight.
On board with Drew Fahrenart's here. He has himself Budafuco in front of him. He's been a part of a couple incidents now tonight. You see the damage there on the rear bumper of his truck as they just try to find their way a little bit further forward. Santiago Tierz was also a part of that last caution. He's 2 cars ahead of the 13 machine, so they're able to retain a little bit of track position, but never good to have that damage.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And it's one of those things to really kind of watch out for here, especially with this real single file action in the front of this thing. Some trucks too wide towards the back half, but not the majority, in fact. And everyone's just desperate to get onto that one racing line and try and get some ground here.
White Tinsley in the purple 20 car, he's been able to be consistent so far through a couple of incidents towards the front. It hasn't just been a race of attrition for those mid-pack, but also a race of attrition for some of these cars towards the front. We've had a couple of wrecks inside of the top 10. And so all of these cars, they're not just here because they're fast, but they've also been here right place, right time, plus 10 for Tinsley so far on the night.
Yeah, that's definitely been the case, I think, as they're still pushing on. They're still trying to find this ground. It's going to be a long slog, though. Coming up towards the halfway point in about 9 laps here, so it's been arduous so far. I think we can agree. They've really had their work cut out. Hoping to see this one continue, but at the moment, it's about just trying to keep these trucks clean. If we can keep them like that, then we're good. But it just seems to be these one little spotty incidents. When people come together, we really end up with a struggle. In fact, towards the back end, it's getting really hairy. Looking down towards 26 of Channing, Ballo and Bass again also involved down there. They're getting real close.
Yeah, Bass, Kerner, they are not shying away from one another. I believe Kenny Brady's in this as well. So everybody all still trying to get themselves what position that they can. We're not even halfway through this race yet, so there's still going to be opportunities to make some moves. As you see, it's like that was Brady there and Bass taking 2 immensely different lines as they went into turn number 1. Brady will get the benefactor role in that one, and so he will try to slide his way forward just a little bit more. He's now running inside of the top 20. You take a look a little bit further up. This here is Ethan Lane. He's +6 on the race so far, able to work his way into the top 5, and now has his sights set on the guy who was leading the entirety of the race until the recent pit stop. Joey Brown trying to fight for that 3rd position against Anthony Burrows, and you see exactly what happens on that inside lane. It's shorter. That's what you want on a short track, but just the fact that you can't carry that speed on corner entry or exit because you're pinched down on the straightaways, you're just not able to make the moves.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's exactly what we're seeing happen for them, unfortunately, and it's meaning that trucks are running up the track and trucks are running down the track, and trying to go to that lower line is forcing these trucks higher. It's what's leading to a lot of these collisions and bumps and bangs, and it's definitely hurting tempers.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone is worried about tempers because you know that everybody's going to get on somebody's nerve at some point. So it's almost like an expectation at this point, Rachel, that someone somewhere is going to get your temper going a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah. You just got to be cool at the short tracks. It's what you got to really worry about. Just try to run your race, not worry about things too much, and just expect it to happen. And then if it doesn't, you're good.
Boy, how impressive has Parker White been on this run? We have to imagine that he only had a 2 stop here. So for Parker White to have the full second, to see if these 2 are going to be able to make a run away from the field, and if so, how long the left sides last on Parker White. I think that is definitely understated how difficult it is to with different sets on your car, because the new set track and full call cars that kind of slides. The cars that are
Oh, there comes R2D2 back to join us in the commentary booth again. We are working on this, folks. We do apologise, but White definitely running a good thing right now. He's managed to hold on here. Brown has really dropped back. Fourth place for him has been a bit of a descent into the ranks here, with Ethan Lane right behind him. Burrows ahead. And we're seeing a good jump here. Navarro's been strong in that second spot. He's really pushing his way up here.
Burrow's unable to make any advances here. Brown also stuck behind him, and everybody's still, for the most part, running nose to tail. Battle just outside the top 10. Brennan Kohler trying to work his way to Connor Horn for the 12th position. Dalton Collins also in this as well, but after that, they have a gap behind them to the rest of the cars, so they're all kind of just working their own race right now.
Yeah, they really are, and working that race is what they need to do at the moment to just keep things cool on the racetrack. Try and just stick to those numbers, stick to your plan, more importantly. Cautions are what will ruin a race because they'll throw you off your intended strategy and plan for this thing, and it will really affect that. So you've got to make sure you are focusing on doing exactly what it needs to
Whoa, trouble for the 57. Ooh. Max Brady slaps the wall. He's able to keep going, though. Gonna lose a handful of positions, and that's another product here of IRP.
Yeah, it is, and they've got to be really careful with that one. It puts them into a difficult spot, but you're going to hit the wall at some point to this track. It can definitely happen. Holding it straight, though, is the important part, because if you don't, you're just going to cause a wreck, and that takes more people into your trouble.
Looks like Brady was trying to come down. That 6 car was on his way up. The two worlds collide, and that's just something where both drivers have a lane that they want to run on the track. Is one too low, is one too high? That's between the two of them, but that's at IRP. When everyone's fighting for the high line, that's where you almost miss trying to be a bottom dominant track. Because if someone hits you, it's because they're pinching you and you don't like that. Here, the guaranteed lane, or the most desired lane, is a little bit left to the imagination.
Yeah, it doesn't really exist the same way you'd think it would. But at the same time, you got to just make sure it's that middle and up is where you really want to be. You do not want to be down on the very, very bottom. That ejects you right at the racetrack.
Coming to 65 laps to go for this race. Tinsley right now, you see that purple 20 car. He's in 8th. He's been kind of stuck since that last restart. But everyone's starting to begin to separate out. And I'm pretty sure that everyone's taking notes on what Parker White is doing right now and what we believe is a two-tire strategy, since Anthony Burrows and Joey Brown, not only are they also separating from one another, they're still stuck over a second behind White and Navarro. So right now, I think Parker White might be starting a trend of exactly what you might want to do when we come to our next pit stop.
Yeah, there's potential to that you've got to focus on, and definitely worry more about those stops than you are about when these cautions are falling, because you get knocked off strategy. You may end up with a late pit you don't want to do. And if you can break this down by the exact numbers you want, you'll be good for it. But if you're green flag stopping and everyone else is on those cautions, it could also ruin the race too. And that's what a caution-filled race with pit strategy will actually really hurt, is knowing when you should definitely go for that yellow flag stop, or you try and go for the green because it's on your numbers, and you're now suddenly down 2 laps.
White took the opening race of round number 2 at Mid-Ohio. An opportunity for him to get back into victory lane, but Andrew Navarro with an opportunity to go back-to-back. He was the winner in even split a couple weeks ago at Michigan. So a couple of race winners. We have a combined 6, if you will, between the odd and even splits through 3 races. You have 2 of them right here. They're both trying to become the first, depending on how the even split ends, if they end faster and if a repeat winner wins there, potentially the first to go back-to-back or have 2 wins at all when it comes down to having 6 races done through 3 events, if you will.
Yeah, very much so. And this one's really an attrition round, I think, the whole of round 2. These tracks have been so dramatically different. It's testing what these drivers are good at, what they can tolerate and what they can race through. Because I can guarantee you all these races in round 2 have basically been the typical races most people consider a drop week. You know? The oddball races that are really going to throw you for 6. And it's really seeing who can be the most adaptable.
Well, next year, you could be here too, trying to fight to make your way into the Pro Series. If you want to learn more about the growing world of eNASCAR, scan that QR code right there on the right side of your screen, or you can also visit eNASCAR.com. Sign up today, see those sparks flying maybe off of your own truck, get the latest news and updates from Road to Pro, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and much, much more. Yeah, this is available to anyone to join. Road to Pro Round 1 is for any driver who has an A-Class license and races in that series. This is an official series, so anyone a part of the service who makes their way up that credential list can make their way into the second round and potentially to the Contender Series to fight for a chance to be a part of that Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So next year, guys, if this is intriguing you, or maybe you just didn't make it this far, yeah, you can still be here hopefully next year.
Yeah, that'd be a good time to go for things, I think, because he's definitely shown that there's a lot of competitiveness in this, and we could see a lot of guys really having a good opportunity here, and it's about who is the best over a season more than anything else, not just one individual race. We've got people locked in here who've not won a single race in this thing. You can do it.
And we start with thousands. We cut down to about 70, then we cut it down to just 20. We combine the 20 out of here, take the back 20 out of the Coca-Cola Series, and that's how we make our Contender Series. Bernard is trying to make his way back into the top 10, lost that spot to Botafuco. Boy, what a roller coaster day it has been for that white and blue number 13 car. He's been a part of 2 incidents so far tonight, and he has worked his way back inside the top 10 with 55 to go.
Yeah, he has, and I'm looking forward to seeing this one go towards the end of it, but he's pushing himself up here, really getting to a good spot, so there's definitely a lot of room for this one to get exciting as we come down these laps. We're past halfway, and these guys are really pushing this thing in.
Connor Horn trying to hold back Dalton Collins. 95 car now makes his way up 1 spot better. He slides into the 12th position. This battle here, Bass is a part of it. Brady is here. Jackson Crowder, I believe. Now I got everything mixed up, but nonetheless, you have yourself a battle just outside the top 10 here, and you saw that 95 car really make a good move and start to gap himself from Connor Horn. Can Collins start to work his way towards the top 10?
I think there's a good potential for it. It's a good opportunity for him to do something. He's just going to have to try and balance this thing and not push too hard. He's got a good gap with the guys behind him, so that's important, but you've got to make sure you're not just going to end up getting bitten by these guys.
Almost wanting to go 3 wide. Brady a part of this as well. We saw him in the wall earlier in this run. He will have to relinquish this battle for now as they go side by side into turn number 3. And everyone trying to chase Connor Horn in this group too, because they're all starting to move away. This is where battling door to door is really going to start hurting you on these longer runs, coming down to 50 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, for sure, and that's where it's going to be really worrying for some of these guys. They're going to have to start making some bigger moves. I think we might still see another caution yet before this thing wraps up, but it's definitely got legs to it.
With 36 car's internet is even better than mine somehow, even though he's blinking. I think I'm blinking a little bit worse here today. Anthony Burrows has made the trek forward. He has caught the rear bumper of Navarro. We'll see if he's able to do anything with it. The big part here, though, is that both Navarro and Brown have found themselves in lap traffic. That said, though, Joey Brown was not able to cling onto the rear bumper of Burrows, so it's just going to be Burrows trying to fight his way through Andrew Navarro and Parker White for now. We'll see if these lap cars are able to bring back your former leader, Joey Brown.
Yeah, we will do. And Joey Brown's working at this thing, but he's sitting back here. The guys ahead of him are moving through lap traffic, and this is where it's going to get messy. This lap traffic overlap is going to be really problematic. Different speeds, different lines.
Boy, Parker White trying to work his way to the inside. He has Andrew Navarro all over the tailgate now. They're trying to work the inside. Burrows on the outside in the black number 62. 3 wide in turn number 4.
That's bold lap traffic, I will say that. They're going for this thing, though, still. White's got a good lead ahead there, but it was Burrows having to make a really desperate move through there to keep up.
How about Anthony Burrows? A little bit of aggressiveness. He bumps his way to P2. Clear track ahead. Can the 62 take the lead? Still 47 to go.
Yeah, still keeping this thing pushed in here and going as hard as they can. Just going to try and manage this traffic. Traffic will be the big one. And you will deal with so much more traffic at a track this length than you will at a mile and a half or anything else. You've got to really focus that down. Really pay attention to it.
Brown still trying to find the mark to catch up to this group. He's a second and a half behind Parker White. White, it seems like, has picked up the pace a little bit with the pressure coming from Anthony Burrows. Meanwhile, for Joey Brown in fourth, Ethan Lane and Matt Coker has started to make their way up just a little bit, and they might be able to start battling for the fourth position as well in not too long. Oh, and yeah, Seth the Merchant is there too. You can't really say anything without including him in that as well.
Yeah, Seth the Merchant's that constant pressure in this situation that will always have a role here, so that's one to keep an eye on. And he's right behind Cocker and right behind Lane, so there's definitely opportunity still.
Not a lot of draft here, so everything here is becoming essential based off of how you're working those tires. Short track, not the newest surface, and you're working that outside lane. You're carrying so much speed into the corner. How much are you pulverizing that right front tire as now Horn's trying to work on Brady as they battle door to door? This battle just continues to spur. You see the 6 cars kind of separated himself, and Delaney's trying to work his way away from all of these guys. But you could also see there that Collins has really separated himself from this group in a battle. I always despise when announcers talk about, oh, you know, do you work together in this situation? And no, you're trying to pass a guy, but it just can be a little bit depressing seeing those 2 guys who just passed you in almost another zip code in front of you.
Yeah, and that's where you've got to be really cautious as well dealing with the lap traffic and this, because it will get you quicker than you think. You know, if you try and make them too bold a move to catch up and stay with them, you can be done.
It will be 40 laps to go this time by. Burrows continues to hound the tailgate of Parker White. Reels it in the middle of the corner. You see 2 very diverse lines through 3 and 4. What does Burrows have for Parker White? How long do the tires depend on police in the start of this race?
Yeah, that's one thing to really focus there, is trying to keep those tires in one piece here, because we're coming down to these last 40 laps, 39 laps right now, and these tires aren't really doing too great. We've had a really decent run here. It's been long on these tires and this fuel, so they're going to have to be really cautious at this point, I think.
Last thing that Burrows seems to be is cautious. Went 3 wide between him, Navarro, and a lapper to take over second. Now putting all the pressure here on Parker White for P1, coming to 38 laps to go. We have not seen a lot of passing inside the top 5 today. The lead change came on pit road for Parker White. Now can Burrows find his way up front as the lights go out in Indianapolis real quick. There we go, looking through the grill. Interesting angle. That was really interesting to see just how close that bumper is getting once they're able to almost connect in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, totally. And that's where you don't want to be doing that, because that's where it starts to get a little spicy and the race could become unpleasant if you get too much of a connection. So Brown, though, it's not really looked like he's recovered any time here, I've got to say. He's sitting back quite a way here. We're seeing Burrows really being kept honest here. Well, White, sorry, being kept really honest by Burrows. All over the back room. One mistake with that traffic and he's done.
Pushing the outside lane. Does he have enough to stay on that right rear quarter panel on exit? Yes, he does. Issues for White. He can't get to the throttle. New leader, the 62 of Anthony Burrows, with 35 to go this time by.
Yeah, that's going to do it. He gets through there because of the opportunity given to him. So just keep working with that. Keep pushing it, and you will use this traffic to win your race. And it's the difference I think a lot of people don't really put enough stock in. That it's what will win you or lose your race all the time, no matter how fast you are.
So our statistician Derek Watson brought up a great point, or a great statistic, because we were talking about earlier how now second and third, White and Navarro are looking to become the only repeat winners in this second round of Road to Pro. That battle for the lead between Burrows and White is between first place in Road to Pro points with White and dead last with Burrows. Came into tonight 70th out of 70, and now he has a chance to get a win on the board. Obviously, there's the drop week. Obviously, there's still 3 more races, but when there's 70 cars and we only take 20, Burrows needs those wins more than anybody else in this entire RTP field, even split or odd split. It doesn't matter. He needs these points.
Yeah, he really does. He's got to try and keep it there. He's got to try and keep that speed, and I think it will help him to if he can. But when you're racing desperately for points, you can make some mistakes sometimes. So you've got to be cautious and take the race one at a time.
Yeah, it almost looked like that. I don't know if it's just to say immense aggression or just, like you said, that was Anthony Burrows was using that pickup truck like a real pickup truck, the way he was driving that thing. On board with Tires, and you see that as drivers have begun to separate, now they're starting to accordion and slinky back together with the tire degradation happening. See some cars in front of them getting a little bit loose on the high side there. But Tires trying to work his way towards Kerner and Bergeron as Tires has been stuck back in 19th after his earlier incident.
Yeah, it really is, and it's going to shake a lot of people up. This track is unforgiving, and we do get a lot of racing that we wouldn't normally see, so it is about just trying to find that balance point and trying to find the right race to run here. But yeah, it will play right if you just let it do itself, because at the moment, somewhat of this is in the hands of the gods. It's not an easy track to race.
Boy, the Merchant went to work, picks up a couple of positions in the past couple of laps over Kocher and Lane. Hill was also there as well, but the Merchant now slithers his way into the 5th position. Hill right now running that 8th position, and boy, you hate when someone passes all these guys as he makes contact with a 26. Ooh, great save there to not get into the wall, but now he might lose a couple of spots. Lane now trying to hold back both Hill and Tinsley.
Yeah, that's where this can go wrong. It's these late race moments that can do that, and you've got to be super careful there.
Got backed up by Hill again there in the corner.
Oh.
And another caution comes out. This is going to make things interesting. Throw everything out the window. With 27 laps to go, we're going to restack them, and might we see a tempo, dare I say it, I don't want to jinx it. Might we see what we saw at the start of this race?
We might. We might. Well, it starts around Alex Bergeron. We'll get that replay for you there, but Bergeron gets tipped by the 18, and they end up, unfortunately, Kerner tips Bergeron. They get both sideways, and they start clonking trucks left, right, and center until Bergeron just gets dumped, cleaned off the bumper of the 27 of Ty Bass, again involved, and the front stretch becomes a parking lot.
That was probably the most depressing game of pinball I think I've ever seen, because, I mean, they were just bouncing everywhere. And that was for some pretty good positions on track. Onto pit road we go now. Everybody going to try to take a splash here, except it looks like Joey Brown. I don't think he made onto pit road.
I don't think he did. Interesting. Brown
and now he's coming in. Oh my goodness, this is going to be absolutely detrimental for Joey Brown. He was inside the top 5, misses pit road entry, and I got to imagine he might restart at the tail of the field.
Yeah, I think he might, and that's going to really hurt his race here. He's going to be in a really bad position. I think this is him out of the real contention here.
Absolutely horrendous for your pole sitter of the race. Joey Brown led the first third of the event with that slew of cautions. Couldn't get around cars, though, once we had that long green flag run. And I guess he misses pit road on entry for that first lap around, and he's going to be shuffled to the back of the lead lap cars.
The little mistakes that will cost you a race at someone like this. It really is, always.
So it looks like Joey Brown will not be one to pick himself up his second win of the Road to Pro season. Him and Parker White were the 2 split victors at Mid-Ohio. But now that's going to leave the lead to Andrew Navarro. Have we not seen enough shakeups coming off of pit road yet? After Anthony Burrows barrels his way to the lead, he's going to have to fight again to try to pick up P1. Looks like 2 tires for Navarro on that stop. He saw what Parker White did, and he said, I only got to hold this for 24 laps. Parker White held it for about 40.
Yeah, but it's going to be 24 frantic laps here.
This is true.
This is where people are going to go for it, and they are not going to be kind on this restart. If we don't see another caution off this start, I'll
Hold
be
on, are you
surprised.
telling me that they weren't already going for it? There's another level that we're gonna have to witness now?
Uh-huh. We're about to take this thing up to, I mean, well, we went from hyper speed to extreme speed, exuberant speed to plaid. We're past plaid. We're now in full-on checkers.
Oh boy, let's rack them on back up. Andrew Navarro, Anthony Burrows, row 1. Parker White, Seth the Merchant, row 2. Christopher Hill, Matt Kuchar. Kenny Brady, White Tinsley. Rounding out your top 10 is Ethan Lane and Dalton Collins. I have 2 people in 9th place on my time and in scoring, so we'll see how that goes.
We will,
Going
and they're
back
about
to
to
the
kick
green
it off.
flag. 22 laps to go at IRP, and Navarro immediately slid up to that top lane. Let's see if he can keep control of this race. Parker
in the wall,
White.
in the wall, wrecking. People
The
inside each other.
Merchant
Oh,
got
no,
into
keep it going.
Kosher. They're all
Still time,
riding
and yeah.
backwards. I don't know how they all kept that together, Rachel.
Neither do I, but the wreck was at the back, actually. It was right towards the rear of the field. I'm going to try and work out who that was down there. Let's look towards Ty Bass. That seems to be a good call for what happens. 32, yeah, with Ty Bass. The 2 of them come into the corner there, and the 32 lost it on his own, slid up the track and did a donut. And yeah, that's not how you go around a racetrack. You turn left, not right.
Well, here we go, Rachel. We are back to the tempo that we saw at the beginning of this race. Here's towards the back. This might have been some wave around cars because those tires, maybe it's just the cold tires, but they see the stack up happening here. Nah, this isn't even a reaction. The 71 car goes around on its own.
Yeah, he just got loose. He went in too low, probably on old tires, and it bit him really hard in the derriere.
And so that is the official caution here, and that might have saved a couple of those trucks who were really going to be in trouble going down the back straight and into turn number 3 with that massive loss of momentum. Obviously, they wish that caution would have happened before they hit the wall and they wouldn't have lost all the positions. But you see the Merchant leads the field into the wall and about 4 cars follow him and bang off of it.
That is incorrect pinball, I think they'll find.
On board, White, Tinsley, you see these 2 cars in front of him go off the wall. And Tinsley, there's nothing that he could do as Kosher blinks his way through. And that looked like Wreck-It Ralph as they just glitched their way behind everyone.
The luckiest blink in history.
You know what? I would call it unlucky only if, and obviously you're never going to know, if just could have got a bump right there and straightened out. Because, boy, Kosher, his internet has been maybe not as bad as mine has been so far, but that's less than ideal when you're trying to make your way to the Contender Series.
Yeah, and that's when it's time to get good fiber connection.
I sadly agree. Anyway, 19 to go. We'll slowly dwindle these laps down. And we talked about this at the start, Rachel. The last thing that some of these drivers wanted towards the end was cautions. Not because of the carnage, not because of the change in tempo, but because of this. The laps just wind down at an insurmountable rate when we are under caution.
Yeah, you can't really race into these laps, so unfortunately, yeah, it's dead laps. It cuts down the time you have got to race.
So Burrow is going to see if he can continue to put pressure on Navarro. We will go back green with under 20 laps to go. Boosted Builds is a custom platform for your brand to sell your products. They take care of everything, pay nothing, and let us handle the rest. So get started with your online store. Visit boosted.biz today. We're going to dwindle down almost to 15 laps to go, Rachel, and I think we were just talking about how the urgency was. I don't know how this thing is going to go. We have had ourselves some ridiculous endings in the odd split so far in this Road to Pro Round 2 season, and I don't think that we're going to get anything less than chaotic. I'm not going to say that means caution-filled. I'm not going to say that means a drag race at an NHRA-owned oval track, but chaotic has been kind of the trigger word, if you will, of this Road to Pro odd split.
I'm just waiting for the old school World of Warcraft reference. Who's going to yell, Leroy Jenkins, and go for this thing? Because someone's gonna, you know they are.
Navarro Burrows, White to Merchant, Hill Brady, Tinsley, Lane, Collins, Budafuco. Back under green, another tremendous restart for Navarro, but not able to have that entire gap because of how low he cuts. Burrow's unable to really gain that momentum through 3 and 4, though. And how about Kenny Brady riding in 5th? Almost got to that left rear quarter of the Merchant.
Yeah, absolutely are. And, oh man, Navarro is pushing this thing so hard, so is Burrows. And all the way back, they are not giving an inch here. Everyone is pushing here to try and be as high as they can up this field. Should we get a late race moment, and it is neck and neck throughout your entire field. There's barely a moment of oh bang, there they go. Got it.
Nothing more that Navarro wants to see than that color flying across the flag stand. More issues towards the back, and this is going to clock off maybe another 6 laps here. Cooler with some issues in the 36 machine, and now our next restart will come within 10 laps to go.
Not ideal, I believe, is the usual interpretation of this one. Yeah, they got themselves in a little bit of a hiccup here, unfortunately.
Oh, and that's the 14 car. Brown had himself quite the race, and he gets turned into the outside wall and causes this haymaker of a wreck. Boy, what a turn of events for Brown, who started this race on pole, led the first portion, and it has dissolved into this.
It hasn't been the way he'd like it to go, I don't think, unfortunately. But it's what happens. You get yourself down the order after running at the front all day. Suddenly, yeah, it's nowhere near as sweet.
So I'd say that it's more sour than anything else, and his mouth is... He had himself what looked like was going to be a phenomenal race for him to grab some points in Road to Pro, and now it's going to be the exact opposite of that. Battle Beaver has everything that you need for your next professionally modeled custom controller, with options for PlayStation, Xbox, how about GameCube? So much more. Battle Beaver has everything you need to elevate your gaming potential. Head to battlebeavercustoms.com to customize your controller. Don't forget, use code PODIUM for 10% off your next order with Battle Beaver. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We're going to go green with under 10 laps to go. And a chance for Andrew Navarro to become the first repeat winner of Road to Pro round number 2. Glad to have you here on Podium Esports. Evan Henry alongside Rachel Whiteford. I am filling in for Kenneth Bueno. Kenneth, hope you're feeling better, buddy. Get better soon. Dealing with a little bit of sickness, but I know them Miami boys jump back pretty dang hard. So he'll be back soon, I'm sure, and we'll see him again for Road to Pro. Just glad to keep the seat hot for you, buddy. We'll see him back here to try to wind down the rest of this Road to Pro Round 2 season. And like I said at the start, it doesn't get any easier. If you thought that this 5/8 mile was difficult, we'll make the track a little bit bigger and cause more chaos when we hit Darlington on September 2nd. And then, what is a real series without a dirt race? I might have angered some of you, but I mean, come on. Bristol Dirt on September 15th will be the semifinal. And then we will head to the lone intermediate on this entire schedule. Texas Motor Speedway will decide what 20 drivers will have a chance to rise to the pro ranks when they will get to visit the Contender Series and take on the bottom 20 from the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So this is just, I think out of all of the Road to Pro and Contender seasons that I've ever had, or that I've ever seen, I'm most certainly never been in any of them, this has been my favorite because of the utter diversity of these tracks.
I like this because it's given us such a diverse, wild selection of tracks that really shows who's good on the cookie cutters, who's good on the road courses, who's good on the super speedways, but more importantly, who's good on the weird tracks. Who can run who can put a season together, not just one or two types of racetracks. You could technically, in the past, go to the Cup Series, just being good at mile and a halves. Not anymore.
9 to go. Navarro and Burrows lead the field back. Can Andrew Navarro become the first to go back-to-back in Road to Pro and do it in 2 different splits? Back underway at IRP.
I'm still looking for Leroy. Where is he?
Burrows
Leroy,
is able to get away cleanly from Parker White.
No, one of the wall in the back. That was going to be the 10 truck. He slapped the wall. Round we go.
Will we get a caution for it? There it is, and this race is going to be determined by a sprint. That might be Santiago Tires, it looks like. It's hard to tell with how many of these cars have their numbers and doors all scratched up on both sides.
Yeah, it makes it easy to dump someone when no one can see what your number is.
So we're going to go green with under 5 to go, and we will see exactly how much more desperate we get. Hard to see there if the rear end comes out, or maybe there might be a little bit of contact. That's Brown in the blue 14. Looks like might have had some contact with the wall, and there might have been a little nudge from the 12 car and Bergeron. Everyone fighting for every point possible. We have seen so many instances in Contender, Road to Pro, where it is literally 1 point that makes the difference. On board Bergeron, Tires hits the wall once. Now, might not be contact there. Well, there's some contact, but that's the wall.
This is just unfortunate. A lot of these guys, they're running on real old tires here, and it's hurting. You can tell.
This has been a long race. This has been a long race.
I will say, people have said in the chat, oh wow, this is the best of iRacing. What do the worst look like? Man, there hasn't been a green flag lap in the worst. Like, seriously, short track racing's hard, okay? It's easier in the real world where you could actually look out your windows and just flick your eyes towards the side. And for some people, maybe running VR, it can be easier, but in general, short track, when you've got a relatively fixed view and only the ability to look left and right, for a lot of people, that's really hard. Your spatial awareness goes out the window. Like, comparatively, it's a hard task, short track racing in a game. It really is.
3 races to decide after this who will move on to the Contender Series and have a chance to become a pro with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. How about one of those guys, Garrett Maines? Welcome to the stream. Glad to have everybody who was raiding along with him join us for what is going to be, I don't know, it's either going to be a barn burner or a burnt down barn. Those are 2 very different things, because this is the tempo that we started the race with, and now as we have another pro with us, Casey Kerwin and company, and all you Raiders, glad to have you alongside, as some of you guys might see who Casey is going to be taking on coming up in future series as we try to figure out who will move on from Road to Pro Round 2. This is certainly throwing a little bit of a wrench into everything, as Anthony Burrows, he's trying to battle his way in this one. Navarro's trying to go back-to-back. And you have a guy like Anthony Burrows, dead last in points, has a chance to grab a win. He has been oh so aggressive working his way through the field. Earlier in the race, he went 3 wide for second. He went down the middle of second place in a lapper, and then eventually made the move on Parker White. On pit road, though, last time, Andrew Navarro came out first, 2 tires stopped. That's what Parker White did earlier to take the lead, and he retained it until Burrows took it away after a long green flag run. But now for Navarro, everything has went perfectly for him. He has been able to hold back, cautions have hit, and he has not been forced to use up those unused tires, or the used tires on that car, to hold back Anthony Burrows. What will we see here after about 3 straight cautions? Burrows and Navarro on the front row. White and Brady to Merchant and Hill, Tinsley and Collins, Landon Buttafuoco. Green flag back at IRP.
This is how you do it. If we get a wreck in the next lap or 2, it's going to be under green-white checker conditions for the finish here. And doesn't think that's going to get it any cleaner, but they're pushing this thing along, and the crosshairs really are on Navarro right now as he comes into these final moments. Can it just stay green long enough that he can hold this thing as they are shuffling, they're bumping, they're banging? This is, oh my god, it's like putting a bunch of guys in a blender and then adding a Datsun.
Sounds like Indianapolis to me. Navarro still holding back Anthony Burrows. And how about Kenny Brady trying to hold back Parker White for that 3rd position? Burrows closing in on the tailgate. Almost makes contact. White flag this time. Who will take home the win in Indianapolis Park? It don't matter.
We got a yellow. We got a yellow.
They stacked up, and we're going green-white checker. Looks like a couple of cars who were in the top 10 earlier, Connor Horn, is going to be a part of this wreck here.
How'd that happen? He was across the start-finish line with the white flag when we got the yellow thrown behind the start-finish line. Oof.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
These flag guys,
because I assumed that the race was over.
Yeah, they got to talk to each other. These guys are the flags. They need to have a bit of a conversation here because they can't make their minds up.
Looks looks like the 14 a part of another late incident here after leading this race, and some bumper cars led to one car being slid up the track. And boy, it has been a rough. Most of the people who have been in a wreck tonight have been involved in multiple wrecks, and while we have had a very large amount of cautions, I don't think everyone has actually been in a caution yet. I think for some reason we keep on just cycling them.
It's kind of usually the same people. That is a factor here, and well, yeah, unfortunately that's going to happen. Either you're a repeat victim or you're a repeat offender.
So we will try attempt number 1 of 3 for green, white, checkered finish to conclude this evening's action in round number 4 of Road to Pro Round 2. 3 races remain after tonight. Darlington, Bristol Dirt, and maybe the only track on the 7-race schedule that anyone is truly comfortable with, the lone intermediate of Texas Motor Speedway. So the issue is, if you like mile and a half, it's not going to matter if you were not able to contend in these first 6 wild card races. So we'll see what happens with the Contender Series, but man, this schedule has been brutal for guys who are just a little bit too comfortable with those mile and a halves.
Yeah, they're going to be begging for that mile and a half track. Yeah, this has been like taking a ghost chili, or one of the Naga ghost chilies, and then using it as a suppository. This season has been a surprising awakening for these drivers, I think, or this round at least. It's definitely taken them out of their comfort zone to a whole new universe. I mean, what? We've had Pocono, we've had this, we've had Mid-Ohio. It's definitely unusual in terms of its ordering. Normally we see these kind of spaced out between a couple of mile and a halves, but no, this is all in one go.
So let's reset it for you as we get ready for a green, white, checkered finish. Andrew Navarro has a chance to go back-to-back, be the first repeat winner of Road to Pro round number 2. Anthony Burrows, he's dead last in Road to Pro points. He was aggressive early on. He hasn't been able to make the move, though, yet to take the lead. He will restart in second. Parker White, he has a chance to also become the first repeat winner. He won back at Mid-Ohio in odd split. Kenny Brady's worked his way up to 4th. Hill and DeMerchant will make up row 3. Tinsley and Collins in row 4. Botafuco and Ethan Lane round out your top 10. First attempt at a green, white, checkered finish. Navarro will cut to turn number 4. And back underway we go. He didn't go as low as he always did. Parker White tried to take that line, though. Unable to clear Kenny Brady, though. We will see what they're able to do as the white flag will come out next time by if we don't get a caution first.
Oh, they're trying behind him. They are seriously trying. 4 wide to the back of the field there. Coming through 3 and 4 now. And this is it. One big dive under the field in 3 and 4. Can they hold together for a couple hundred meters? Come on. Oh, they're turning. They're holding it straight. They're ready to wreck each other straight again.
White flag is out. We're going to take this one to the checkered. Burrows will try to get to the inside. Not going to be able to get that left rear quarter panel. He does. Shakes up Navarro just a little bit. Can't get him around, though. Here's a big push to the outside. Navarro will hold him back for the first time. In round 2, we have a repeat winner. Andrew Navarro wins at IRP, and he becomes the first to win in both different splits.
That was a finish. I've got to say, Burrows, credit to him. He kept him honest at the end there. I thought we were down for an absolute drag race, but he got super sideways out of the 4. That was a finale there. We just got a great green, white checker.
A little bit of love tap from Kenny Brady. Won 2 weeks ago in the even split at Michigan, and then takes the win in odd split tonight at Indianapolis Raceway Park. What a way to make yourself a little bit of history in this season of Road to Pro. Some dual burnouts for a pair of drivers on the podium. Navarro takes the win. Burrows finishes second. Kenny Brady gets the job done. Gets around Parker White for that 3rd position. White in 4th, DeMerchant in 5th. Your top 5 after what was a chaotic race at IRP spanning 146 laps.
An absolutely crazy race here tonight with quite a handful of cautions in this one that really made this one a super tactical race for these drivers, and we had a phenomenal run with a huge diversity here. 3 separate tracks with 3 massively different driver profiles, and ability requirements. And this is only getting stranger. This round 2 is honestly the most fun we've had with Road to Pro.
Taking a look at that green and white checkered finish, Burrows tried to throw everything that he could inside in 1 and 2. Looked like he just got a piece of the 42 as Navarro, I think, was trying to cut him off and end that momentum, which it actually worked. Then Burrows just tried to send everything that he had left in 3 and 4. It wasn't enough. The 2-tire stop makes the difference. And Andrew Navarro becomes the first 2-time winner and does it in back-to-back fashion in 2 different splits to help himself out in what he hopes to be a position in the eNASCAR Contender Series in just a couple months' time. Burrows, man, he came in tonight dead last in the standings, but really put an exclamation mark on what his ability truly is. Fought his way to a second-place finish tonight, almost had a win until that last pit stop when Navarro took the lead on 2-tire stop. Kenny Brady rounds out the podium. He slid his way through numerous cars. Parker White finishes in 4th, Seth the Merchant in 5th. Christopher Hill, P6. White Tinsley rounds out the top 7. Dalton Collins in 8th. Ethan Lane in 9th. Daniel Buttafuoco is able to pick up a top 10 finish.
11th place was Matt Kocher with Drew Farinez in 12th. Jonathan Delaney in 13th place. Connor Horn in 14th. Brandon McKissick in 15th place. Joey Brown, unfortunately, down in the end in 16th place. Brendan John Kohler in 17th with Ty Bass 18th. Jackson Crowder in 19th and Max Brady in 20th.
Dustin Johnson in the 21st position. Derek Lemke in the 22nd position, Eddie Kerner, the first car 1 lap down. He'll have to salvage a 23rd place finish. Alex Bergeron in 24th. Daniel Manley, he started in 7th, has to finish 25th. Santiago Tierras, P26. Johnny Avila in 27th. Channing Ballou in 28th. Daniel Eberhardt, 29th. Agnel Phillip in 30th. Christian Pedersen, 31st. AJ Strabo did not start the race. He will finish in 32nd position. Well, I think it's time to chat with and kind of dig into the brain of your race winner tonight. Andrew Navarro puts together an incredible race. And before we get into your history made here tonight, I just have to confirm, I'm not the smartest guy, I guess, on iRacing, but take me through the execution and the mindset on that last pit stop that granted you the lead and that string of cautions helped you hold everyone off and grab this win.
Yeah. So I didn't know 2 tires and short fueling or putting no fuel in the truck was going to be so good. It happened to me on the first run. Parker did it, and I was like, "What? That's kind of crazy how it was." I full fueled it on accident, so I was really loose rear end wise that first long run that we got. Which, I mean, it was a shame. I wish I could have been up there and didn't have to do the 4-tire call or the 2-tire call. But I saw how well it worked for Parker, and I'm like, well, I gotta try it. I'm not, I'm good enough in the points right now that if I finish 5th off a 2-tire call, I'll be fine with it. So I just went for it.
And 2 wins in Road to Pro is a big deal on its own, but the way that you've been able to do it, it's the first repeat winner of round 2. It's back-to-back at Michigan and Indianapolis, and it's on both different splits in those back-to-back races. What does that mean to you? What kind of speed have you been showing to make this possible to go back-to-back at 2 very different racetracks around really 2 different groups of competitors?
Oh yeah, it's I put a lot of work into this week, more than I have others. I think I did it around like 800 laps. I'm notoriously bad on short tracks, so I really had to work on it this week. Luckily, I have great teammates as Kenny and Ethan and Thomas, and they really showed me. I saw the telemetry and I was looking at it and the way they drive it, which helped me a lot because they were way better than me this week. I think you put Kenny up there at the end, and he would have definitely won the race. So just crazy to win at 2 different racetracks. And I'm super happy for it.
Second straight win. Who do you got to thank for what this team of yours has become and getting you to back-to-back victories?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody, for keeping me motivated on the team and helping me out, test and stuff. It helps me a lot, understanding I'm not on all the time. So, I do a setup change and I give it to them and they help me out a lot. So, I mean, it's really big to have good teammates, especially in round two.
Andrew Navarro, first repeat winner of the season in Road to Pro Round 2. Congratulations as you get one step closer potentially to making to that eNASCAR Contender Series.
Yeah, also, I'd like to thank Celebrity for being on the hood this week. Shout out to them. Shout out to Martin Sports, Burnt Rubber TV, Tranquility, Sports 7 Cs, everybody that makes the premier racing setups. I know the setup that I built for them is at Kentucky, but it was pretty fast. So just really happy. And of course, thank you guys for broadcasting.
Congratulations, Andrew.
Thank you.
Andrew Navarro, your P1 finisher, makes it back to back in Road to Pro round number 2.
Well, I've got a chance to catch up here with Anthony Burrows, who came home today in second place. Anthony, you started second, you came home second. Looked like it was incredibly tight there for a while.
Yeah, that was crazy. I think Navarro took two before that final restart, and I really ran out of time to pass him. I think if we had 5-6 laps, I could have had a shot at it. But yeah, that battle I had with Andrew and Parker before that caution was super fun. It's so hard to get up and pass people and race side by side, but I feel like we did a pretty good job with doing that with each other. So shout out to both of them for racing pretty clean all night. Really sucks to come up this short.
It certainly does, but it's been a wild season so far, or this round, I should say. Have you got any expectations for the upcoming races?
Goal for the last 3 races, just top 3, because I finished 30th or worse the last 2 races, and then didn't race the last one, so I came into this last. So if I can just keep up runs like this the rest of the year, I think I'll be able to have a shot at a top 20. But yeah, at this point, just going for wins and top 3s. That's all I can ask for, and we'll see how it goes from there.
That'll certainly do the job. Who would you like to give a shout out to or thank?
Big shout out to all the guys at Legacy for supporting me, all my family, and everyone who supports me through everything. And big shout out to you guys for putting the broadcast on every race, and to everyone who tunes into these.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Anthony Burrows coming home today in second.
A P2 for him looks like we will in fact talk to Kenny Brady. Sorry, I missed you there almost for a second. Kenny Brady coming home in the 3rd position, plus 10 on the night. And it was a very exciting night for a lot of different drivers, bobbing and weaving, but somehow, some way, you worked your way up forward. We saw you kind of making that trek. What did it take to get your way up through the field? Then, of course, making that last lap pass from Parker White to end up on the podium.
Yeah, it was a crazy race. It honestly felt like plus 30 from, the moment of that black flag I had from that restart wreck. I had to serve it, and then I went a lap down, and then thankfully I got my lap back. So yeah, I restarted 29th, 30th, I think I was, and I was like, all right, I do this like every week. I drive to the field, so might as well just do it again. And oh man, I just drove my butt off again, and then got really lucky with that yellow there, and took 2 tires. Somehow got up to third. So
And every week, it's such a unique combination putting the trucks on dirt in the future, road course, 2-mile track, triangle, and then, of course, here at the 5/8 mile. What has the preparation for you been like week in and week out, trying to just get a grip on being able to go to such different kinds of tracks every other week, trying to get into that next step to be in the top level, hopefully?
yeah, it's fun. It keeps your brain thinking. It keeps you excited because you're not doing the same thing every week. You're learning and you know, or I guess trying to learn and learning new things as you go. So it's been a roller coaster, man. I can't even lie. And like we have Darlington next, and then Bristol Dirt. So short track tonight. Like it's so diverse, the whole schedule. So it's crazy. It's a lot of work, and I couldn't do it alone, obviously, without Andrew. So it's been a grind all year, and it's uh it's been a crazy one for sure.
And with how often that you've went forward and back forwards again, I think just about every truck in the field in both splits have been able to see that 54 car. But who do you have to thank for the kind of performances that you've been able to put up here so far in Road to Pro?
Yeah, I appreciate that. First off, a huge shout out to Roasted Gems Coffee. They are my primary sponsor for the final 5 races of this year. So, or for Road to Pro Round 2. So, uh, you know, uh, everyone at Roasted Gems Coffee, they believed in me and decided to jump on the truck. Can't thank them enough. Best coffee in sim racing. Burnt Rubber Media for being my secondary sponsor, DJ Line and all those guys, Jesse Whittington, uh, believing in me, James Watson, Brian Britt, everyone at Team Watson Racing Setups. If you need any setups, go there. And last, but save the best for last. Martin Sports, Scott Martin, everyone at Martin Sports, they have believed in me since day one. So I just really appreciate all those guys and everyone at Tranquility Sports. Andrew is a madman. He is insane. Builds our setups every week and goes out and wins. And I'm just lucky enough to drive him.
Kenny Brady rounds out the podium. Kenny, congrats on the third place finish.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, that will do from Indianapolis Raceway Park. And Rachel, like we said earlier, it doesn't get much easier for any of these drivers. As next up is the Lady in Black, Darlington Raceway, and then we have dirt. And then we finally get a more familiar intermediate track to close out the season. It certainly has been an odd split, if you will, every now and again with these drivers. But what's your expectations as we hit the final 3 races, trying to make it to the Contender Series?
I think Darlington will be a breather. It's a track they know, and better in this case, the devil, It's hard, but we'll see a good race, I think, and we're looking forward to seeing some fantastic runs towards the end here. The dirt's going to be wild. But with Texas and Darlington, we're going to have some really top racing there.
We're looking forward to seeing the rest of this Road to Pro season. Glad to have you along with us here live on Podium Esports for the odd split, the eNASCAR qualifying Road to Pro iRacing Series to see who will be coming up to the Contender Series. For Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports, for our producer this evening, Ryan Bauer, our camera builder, Dougie Beard, and our overlay builder, Michael Hall, Derek Watson, and Garrett Mashburn for our statistics, Cameron Auburn for covering social tonight, and for my colleague, Rachel Whiteford, I am Devin Henry, filling in for Kenneth Bueno. Be sure to keep up with everything going on in eNASCAR by scanning that QR code on the screen. Sign up today for some iRacing and have yourself a good little time. Or, of course, as always, you can go to eNASCAR.com. That will do it, and thank you for watching Podium Esports coverage of the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at Darlington Raceway, 9 p.m. Eastern. Coming up next year on Podium Esports, it's time to raid Greedy Me. Have a great night, everyone.